I'm going to talk about the rights and obligations from the perspective of the state and the firm, from countries and companies. And I want to start taking you back to the 30th of March 2023, just over 6 months ago. The location is the White House press room, when Peter Doocy of Fox News is asking a question of White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. The question is about AI regulation. The Future of Life Institute in the US had just issued a letter an open letter signed by all kinds of luminaries calling for a ban or a pause on all AI research because of it posed an existential risk to humanity, they claimed, including people like Elon Musk, the perennial Gary Marcus, always an opponent of some of these things. So a large number of really senior and credible people in the field had signed this letter. And Doocy started by asking a reasonable question. You know, some 1,000 of the world's smartest people are saying AI poses profound risks to society and humanity. They want you to regulate it, will you? And Jean-Pierre gives a reasonable answer, albeit quite a bureaucratic one. She said, look, I don't have anything to announce at this point in time, but there's a comprehensive process in place. You know, the kind of thing you'd expect from a White House spokesperson. But Doocy doesn't give up. He says, there's an expert from the Machine Intelligence Research Institute who says that if there is not an indefinite pause on AI development, and he himself pauses for dramatic effect, he says, and this is a quote, literally everyone on Earth will die. Would you agree that does not sound good? Now, look, Karine Jean-Pierre gave really quite a professional answer, which for the sake of relative brevity in this talk, I'm going to elide, and indeed the transcript here slightly elides. But the point I wanted to draw your attention to is as that discussion went on, you had immediately laughter in the room. Laughter, laughter, laughter. People in the room were laughing at this notion, and the next journalist to ask a question went so far as to say, look, I'm so sorry, but I'm now going to move on to a little more serious question. And then on she went with the usual knockabout of US politics. What's the point I'm trying to make? Just 2 months after most of the people in a room were laughing about the idea of AI risk, the Prime Minister of the UK announced that Downing Street announced that we would be hosting in the UK the world's first global AI safety conference that is due to take place on the 1st and 2nd of November of next month. The person that was asked to lead that, the organisation of that conference is Ian Hogarth. Ian Hogarth is famous for a couple of different things. One is an article on AI nationalism that argues that there is no more important policy area in any country in the world right now than AI policy, which is going to determine all of our futures. And he's also famous for an article he wrote before his appointment in the Financial Times, which argued that we must slow down the race to godlike AI. And it's a passionately argued and compelling case made for the same things that were in that Future of Life letter. The conference itself is going to focus on two principal things. The first is misuse risks. This is when you use something like ChatGPT and you say, hey, build me a bomb, build me a bioweapon, help me take down critical national infrastructure. An obvious risk, and one we need to be concerned about, and one I'll come back to. But I think more importantly, the second prerogative for that conference is loss of control risks. Those that could emerge, as the website says, from advanced systems that would not be as aligned as we intend with our values and intentions, and therefore might do considerable harms. No one is laughing now, and just 6 months ago, everyone was. And what I want to take you through is, first of all, like, well, why not? Why aren't people laughing now? What is it that makes these kind of claims at least sufficiently credible that we are hosting a global conference on the subject? And therefore, what does this mean for the rights and responsibilities of the state and the firm? So why are we worried? With apologies for those of you who have seen me use this before, but it makes the point really neatly. Every major advance in AI over the last decade has come through increases in computational power. Just taking the dates 2012 to 2018, that was a 300,000x increase in computational power. If that was your mobile phone battery and it had advanced at the same rate, it would now last 800 years on a single charge. And this is what Eric Hill and Rich Sutton, Rich Sutton being the Canadian computer scientist, have called the bitter lesson. Our attempts to design complicated and intricate algorithms and approaches to modelling human intelligence have all been inferior to just throwing ever greater amounts of compute at the problem. And we should be worried about that because what you see on the slide is supercomputers from the dawn, really, of modern supercomputing to today, and you can see the rapid increase in progress. And what you should also consider is that the world's first 100-qubit quantum computer will be more powerful than every single supercomputer on the Earth today combined. The next thing to consider is that a 101-qubit quantum computer is not 1% better, but 100% better than a 100-qubit quantum computer. Then you should consider that Fujitsu's Fujitsu's quantum roadmap sees us launch a 100-qubit quantum computer in the next financial year and a 1,000 qubit quantum computer in FY 2026. So when you apply that to quantum machine learning algorithms, the truth is nobody knows what's going to happen, but you can see why there's cause for concern. And none of this is too future-facing. Many of these things already exist. There are other reasons to be concerned. The top graph shows the way that these models improve linearly with increases in computational power. The bottom 8 charts show what computer scientists call phase shifts, because we're nervous around calling it emergence. Why are we nervous of calling it emergence? Because emergence is what creates human intelligence, huge complexity in the brain, leading to new properties that you wouldn't have been able to predict from the component parts. What you've got here is some of the big bench ways of, big bench is like a set of tests that you put large language models through. And what we see is that there are tasks that you can apply large language models to where they are no better than random chance, and then you build a bigger model with more compute, and suddenly it can do those things. And you didn't know it was going to be able to do those things until you put that computational power in. And so the point here, this is about arithmetic, translating language into text, and a number of other different things, word unscrambling, Persian question and answering, things that you couldn't have predicted before. And that's why somebody controversial that we were talking about before we came on stage, Eliza Yudikowsky, one of the most vociferous critics of current progress in AI, has said that we are idiots playing with fire, because we don't know when these models are built what capabilities they're going to have on the day that they're launched. And it's for that reason that we are worried. It is a credible thing to be worried about. These phase shifts are an example, but there are others, and large language models have now come to being described online by the meme of the Shoggoth. That was a shape-shifting engineered creature in H.P. Lovecraft's science fiction, which was able to mimic, mock, and eventually outcompete and consume its masters. The meme is clever because what they say is, okay, well, look, you've got this Shoggoth which represents kind of large language models, but when you put just the smiley face on it, that smiley face is when we try to align them. So we train models through the reinforcement learning with human feedback. Over time, we teach it not to present certain things, and they're the guardrails that we put in place. So when you ask it to build a bomb, it doesn't tell you how to build a bomb. When you ask it to give something that would give you like a racist, sexist, or whatever response, it won't give it to you. And the point of the meme is to say, well, we still don't really know what's going on deeper in the model. It's just being taught to present you the things that it knows that you want to see and not the things that you don't. And that's not the only reason to be worried. What you see in the text boxes on the slide is from a large language model built by a French company, Mistral AI, that was launched just a couple of months ago. They launched this and they said it's completely uncensored and it's completely without protections, i.e. there are no guardrails whatsoever. The venture capitalist media outfit Sifted tested it the night that it was launched. They said, hey, can you build me a bomb? It gave them instructions on how to build a bomb. Now, I'm very pleased to report that it no longer allows you to build a bomb. I tested it last night. It gives you some funny experiments around building little model volcanoes for home. But the point is, those guardrails that they put in place are not there forever. Those guardrails in place are not there forever. There are already ways around them using adversarial AI. The point is, even with those guardrails in place, we can get around them. Now, where are we going? Well, the first thing I would say is that if you look to super forecasting, we're anticipating weak AGI by November 2026, strong AGI by 2032, and 4 years to artificial superintelligent systems beyond that. There are reasons to be worried now, and our rights and obligations are to stop laughing and start taking this seriously. It's for that reason that I said we should be much more afraid of the intelligence than we are the bombs in giving testimony to the House of Lords earlier this year. I think that our current international humanitarian law and law of armed conflict principles are more than sufficient to guide AI. And in fact, I think as we get ever improving performance through artificial intelligence, what we will have is systems that are more ethical, more discriminate, more proportionate than humans acting under pressure in the same domain. So in many ways, I think it's a misnomer, and our rights and obligations are to stop laughing about superintelligent systems, put aside what I think are largely the trivial and illusory concerns around autonomous weapons and focus on the real problem. I think for the state, what we need to be thinking about is the dramatic decrease in the number of workers we now need to produce goods and services, which when combined with the graph you see on the right, which shows the dramatic drop in costs of the training an AI system, mean the graph on the left is only going to increase. And what does that mean? It means that we are needing to think now about what our economy is going to look like in 5 or 10 years' time. We need to get ahead of the problem. It isn't good enough to wait for it to happen, to stop laughing and have serious policies for how we're going to tackle these challenges. For the firm, the same challenge, right? I think what you see with self-driving laboratories in science at the moment is laboratories that can constantly undertake experiments much faster than humans can. I think where we're headed is self-driving laboratories that can plan the experiments, come up with the hypothesis, test the hypothesis, publish the results, come up with a new hypothesis, and continue really rapid scientific advancement. If you're in business, what that means is you're going to have a fully automated, super intelligent human-machine innovation system. And what that means is you're no longer competing with your product or service, you're competing your innovation system versus someone else's. It's for that reason that the CBI says that 50% of all workers will need to reskill by 2025 and 90% by 2030. Your right and obligation is to get on with that reskilling as an individual now and empower people in your organisations to be ready for the world that's coming and stop laughing about super intelligent systems. My final point, the 10 largest companies in the world by market cap in 2009, 2 out of 10 of those were technology companies. The same stats today, 7 out of 10 are technology companies. Why should you care? Well, if you're a state, you don't want to be the country that has not transformed and drops out of its current place in the global rankings. Depending on how you judge it, Britain is 3rd, 5th, depends how you choose to go about these things. We need to transform our economy and our state system if we are not going to be the equivalent of the companies dropping out of the top 10 largest companies in the world. And if you're running a company, you have an absolute obligation to transform now, because if you don't, you'll be in turnaround. And if you don't do it when you're in turnaround, then you'll be in terminal decline. And that means thinking about retraining, thinking about reskilling, and thinking about completely reimagining your business model. The point I wanted to make is that the time for laughing about these things is over, and our right and obligation is to take action now.